Ms. Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffree Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
I know for a fact she's getting special treatment. Access to a laptop computer, which is unheard of, to visits where they lock down the camp and no one can leave their bunks while she's having visitors.
Jeffree Epstein's ex-girlfriend, Ghilane Maxwell, has been reported to be receiving very special treatment at the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, where she is being held. Private time, chef-made meals, and even access to a therapy pet. Now, guess who else has been enjoying these same luxury benefits behind bars, despite the heinous allegations against him? Sean Diddy Combs.
I'm still standing taller than I ever been, looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid.
However, according to word currently hitting the streets, Diddy won't be getting all those privileges for too long because Ghilane has been reportedly spilling some tea and Diddy's name was allegedly thrown into the mix. Some sources strongly believe that there's a connection there between Diddy and Jeffree Epstein. Others are alleging that this might be a diversion orchestrated to shift focus from the real suspects to someone who has already paid the price as the sacrificial lamb. As we speak, nothing has been officially established just yet, but one thing is for certain, and it is that the striking similarities between Ghilane Maxwell's condition and Sean Diddy Combs are too many to be ignored. Precisely the same way that Ghilane was moved from a maximum to a minimum security prison, so was Diddy. And ever since, both parties in their respective locations have enjoyed special visitations, customized meals, after-hours exercise, and even access to a service dog. And as if there couldn't be any more correlations between Sean Combs and Ghilane Maxwell, these two individuals shared the same legal teams during their trials. And we're not just talking about the same defense attorneys, but even the prosecutors on the other side were the same for both cases. Talk about an awkward coincidence, particularly when you come to find out that both trials took place at the same U.S. District Court that handled all matters related to Jeffree Epstein. So was it just a stroke of bad luck that Diddy's trial was held in the same court by the same judge, attorneys, lawyers, and law enforcement officials that handled all matters related to Jeffree Epstein? At what point exactly do all of these stop being coincidences and start becoming a pattern? At what point do the dots stop connecting into a smoothly orchestrated chain of command where the lines between the start and the end game blurs out all too quickly? But hold on, because it gets even weirder. Just like Jeffree Epstein had his Ghilane Maxwell, Diddy had Christina Coram, a trusted right-hand woman who facilitated their atrocious acts for years. What happens when you tie all of this to the fact that P. Diddy and Jeffree Epstein both ran underground CT operations that reportedly catered to the needs of the elites, the 1% of the 1%. Albeit Diddy ran his operation in Hollywood, while Jeffree Epstein was on a more broader scale, dealing with politicians and men that wielded power and influence. But the lines between those two groups blurred out a long time ago, especially when you start to consider how political figures have been relying on celebrities for endorsements. Our favorite TV stars, talk show hosts, football players rounded up to stand behind a cause.
Hey guys, so I'm here in Wisconsin and I'm here with the one and only, the Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Hey everybody. Okay, get out and vote and go to iwillvote.com to know where and when you should vote.
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother.
And what happens when you start to talk about all those footages? Diddy and Epstein both kept catalogs of each and every one of their shady dealings and the victims tied to them. A majority of them never even knew that they were being recorded, but their connection goes even deeper.
Between Diddy and Epstein, there's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should say, I think you voted for Biden.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, we call it the top 100 puppet masters in the Epstein client list.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Strong overlap.
Diddy and Jeffree Epstein were two billionaires orbiting the same world. New York money, New York power, and the kind of circles that don't let just anyone in. And when you start connecting the dots, the overlap feels like a little too much to chalk up to coincidence. Because here's where it gets interesting. The moment Diddy went down, a wave of prosecution letters started hitting inboxes. Mike Jeffries, former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, got indicted. New York City Mayor Eric Adams got indicted. And allegedly, that's because Diddy was talking, naming names, pulling threads, and watching dominoes fall. Now, Mike Jeffries doesn't just connect back to Diddy, he connects back to Epstein. And here's the link that ties it together. Jeffries was put in place at Abercrombie by Les Wexner, the same Les Wexner who famously handed over his fortune and his estate to Jeffree Epstein.
What we know is that Jeffree Epstein used both his proximity to Les Wexner, who owned all the L brands. So, you know, he owned Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie and Fitch, and that Epstein would tell young women and boys that he was a recruiter for those brands. We know that was part of what he did to lure people into his sphere. We know that Ghilane Maxwell, part of why she was convicted is she was one of the primary perpetrators and actually recruiting, especially young women.
Wexner was arguably Epstein's most powerful benefactor, the man who gave him the keys to an entirely different level of access and influence. So when you trace the line from Diddy to Jeffries, Jeffries to Wexner, Wexner to Epstein, you're not looking at 6 degrees of separation. You're looking at 2 or 3 at most. Whether that's coincidence or something more deliberate is a question worth sitting with. But what about when Ricky Gervais exposed all of Hollywood? It was the 77th annual Golden Globe Award, and he literally came on stage and called movie directors PDF files and the R word. He also mentioned that Jeffree Epstein wasn't unalived like we have been made to believe. And then the biggest bombshell, that Hollywood is a close friend of Jeffree Epstein.
Talking of all you it was a big year for our movies. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care. Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. 5th time. And it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way. So in the end, he obviously didn't himself. Just like Jeffree Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
So when Diddy's name comes up in the same circle as Jeffree Epstein and Ghilane Maxwell, it's no longer just coincidence. These weren't chance encounters at a charity gala or a mutual friend's dinner party. This was a network built on access, protected by money, and sustained by the kind of silence that only breaks when someone's already in handcuffs. Ghilane Maxwell didn't just know powerful men, she curated them. And the world Epstein built around himself wasn't stumbled into, you had to be invited. So the question was never really whether these names belong in the same conversation. The question is how deep that conversation goes and who else was in the room when nobody was watching. And now word on the streets is Ghilane is finally breaking her oath of silence. But instead of ratting out upper echelons that a mere mention of their names would break the world in half, she is reportedly choosing to reveal people that have already been exposed. People like Lex Wexner, Mike Jeffries, Clive Davis, and Diddy. But this time she's allegedly here with more receipts than Diddy's freak off tapes. Rumor has it that Diddy's been panicking ever since Ghilane indictment because keeping her luxury meals and pet time means she has to talk. But instead of tying the noose around someone else, she has reportedly chosen to pin it all on a scapegoat, Diddy. But how long before he starts spilling secrets of his own? Because when a man gets cornered to the wall, sometimes he has no choice but to fight back. The outcome of all of this just might shake the halls of Hollywood and the White House. So stick around as we reveal more by the day. Also, let us know what you think down in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.